Health Services Authority, caring people, quality service. Visit hsa.ky.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health. 2 locations, Governor Square and Grand Harbor. Refill and transfer prescriptions online. Call 947-8900 or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky. Also brought to you by Cayman Medical Center, Cayman's most awarded private medical clinic.
And UHealth, International University of Miami.
World-class healthcare in the heart of Miami.
The Light Room, your holistic sanctuary for physical and mental restoration, repair, and rejuvenation. The power that made the body heals the body. 38 Pasadora Place, Georgetown. Find us online at www.thelightroom.ky or call 938-HEAL.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
If you or your loved one is facing cancer, only Sylvester will stand firmly by your side at every step, from diagnosis through survivorship, providing you and your family peace of mind and assisting with everything you need before, during, and after your stay with us. Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center is South Florida's only NCI-designated cancer center and specializes in treating the most complex cancer cases. Your first-class cancer care is just a flight away. Learn more at sylvester.org.
Hello, good people. This is Uncle Selvin. Long time you not hear from me. When I was growing up around here, if you was not feeling too good, there's nothing in a dip in the sea couldn't clear up. Or better yet, your mama would fix you some good bush tea. Mind you, they still works. But the truth be told, those were simpler times when advice about your health and wellness was pretty straightforward. And you trusted it. Today, around here for trusted advice, the folks at Healthcare Pharmacy is the ones I trust. Their team of healthcare professionals and pharmacists have been serving this community now for over 30 years. Healthcare Pharmacy with 2 locations, Grand Harbor and Governor Square. You can reach them wherever you is.
Hello and welcome to For the Health of It. I'll be interviewing Dr. Gary Montemayor from the Light Room, along with Evra Ward, who is also the owner of the Light Room. But we're going to be talking about energy and measuring energies. And tell us a little bit about that. First of all, I'll start with Alvaro. Tell us what made you connect with Dr. Gary.
Well, I met Dr. Gary when a couple of months ago when he was doing his final dissertation, and he came to see me because he was very interested in measuring what was actually happening in the light room. And he did, and he'll tell you about some measurements he did there. But then recently, I just thought it was my first anniversary. The light room's been open a year already, which is great. But I thought it would be really nice to do something special. So I contacted Gary and I said, can we do a day where we actually measure some of my regular clients? So we can just really get them to see on paper what's exactly happening to their bodies and the benefits of the light room. And that's what we did. Earlier, January last month, we got a bunch of us together and we did some measurements pre and post a 2-hour session in the light room. Oh. And the results were quite remarkable.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick that over to you and say, what were the results and what did you measure?
Sure. Well, we use something called heart rate variability. And we have a certain machine that just measures the pulse. And it measures the distance between heartbeats.
Yes, I've heard about it.
Yes, and it's a little micro distance. And when it varies a lot, it's really good. And it actually makes our biological age younger because young people have that. And what it is that there's 2 systems in our body. Collectively, they're called the autonomic nervous system. But individually, one is fight or flight, the other is rest and digest.
Yeah.
And they go back and forth at the heart to make it either beat faster or beat slower. And when there's variation, it just shows that system's really working good. Mm-hmm. So what we did is we measured people before, because if you're in fight or flight, you're going to have a faster heartbeat and you're going to have faster respirations and you're going to have higher cortisol levels, more stress. So my thinking was, I want to see if this relieves stress. So when we did it, we found out that not only did it relieve stress, but it also turned back the clock. An average of the 11 people, the average is about 9 years that they went back in biological age, meaning their heart rate variability was that of somebody 9 to 10 years younger.
Wow.
And that was pretty remarkable. So not everybody was like that, but the average was. So there were some less, some more. So I was really, really impressed to see that. And I also had something called a tension index. A lot of people don't realize, but sometimes their jaws are tight, and so I got to see that before and after. Of course, everybody improved, so their jaws released. Their autonomic nervous system, they became more rest and digest rather than fight or flight. So that was also one of the things that turned on, and their heartbeats slowed. So that was very interesting. But probably I had no doubt that this would have some impact because I had been in there before. But the thing that I found most remarkable was something that Avril showed me. She had this little device, and it measures electromagnetic fields. So you can put it up to the TV, and it'll start. It's like a little Geiger counter, and it'll start to go off. You put it next to a plug, and it'll go off. Anyway, the atmosphere has all kinds of electromagnetic fields. But when you go into that room, it goes right to zero. And that means it is the cleanest room energetically than everything, because energy has amplitude or waves. And when we say, is your plug 60 hertz, 50 hertz, different countries have hertz and they have frequencies. And it goes about 60 times per minute. Scalar energy, or the energy that's in her room, is linear, meaning that there's no wave to it. It's absolutely clean. So when you go in there, if you have any environmental effects from electromagnetic fields, it cleans them up automatically.
And how is this important to us human beings?
Very true. What affects us is we have something called epigenetics.
Yes.
Okay. And that is the environment and our outside influences affect our genetics.
Yeah.
And so that has to do with things, electromagnetic fields that we're close to. We know that microwaves are not good to get in front of the microwave, especially if you have something like a pacemaker or something like that. It's also bad in a lot of other ways. We have cell towers. People don't want to live near them because it's electromagnetic fields. These certain energy waves, tend to focus on our body, and our body is constantly fighting and rejecting them. And so what happens is that they come in through epigenetics, affect our DNA, and then we use all our energy to repair our DNA. So at the end of the day, we're tired. We don't know why. So it's things like that we know that this can help clean that up.
And this is what the Lightroom does, right?
That's definitely one of the aspects of the Lightroom. I find most of my regular clients are coming in because they are exhausted and they just don't get time to rest. And one of those factors is what Gary said. You're continually bombarded by this, electric smog in the air with everything. You get home, your computers are on, the TVs are on, you're cooking dinner, your microwave's on, and you're continually bombarded. So they come in exhausted. So this is like the sanctuary for coming in and being in this clean environment where their body gets completely rest from the bombardment of all these magnetic toxins.
So when they come into the Lightroom, right? And it's about a 1 or 2 hour process, right?
Yes.
It's a clean room because I've been there, and you got to put down your cell phone. You got to take off your Apple Watch or all your devices.
We're cleaning you up before you go in.
Yeah. And you get to go in a state of rest.
Yes. Well, the system has a way of inducing a theta brain state, which is a state that you go into just before you fall asleep or just before you wake up. That's the usual time you go into a theta brain state. So, and that is when your rest and digest and your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, which is the healing section of the body. So that's what we're doing. The Lightroom creates the perfect environment for your body to self-heal. It gives you all the tools you need, with a clear environment, with rest, with lying down, with, close your eyes, let your body rest, don't expend any energy. And then we are also charging you up. We're actually literally charging the cellular voltage of your cells, which gives your body the energy you need to detox, to heal, to repair, to restore, and to feel great.
So I guess I should have started with this question, actually. What is energy in this context?
Oh, that's, let's start.
How much time do we have?
You've asked the right, I'm actually writing a book on consciousness. One of the things that we have in physics, we have a place called a 0-point field. And the 0-point field, its best analogy would be if you take a cubic meter of space, and it's in a complete vacuum, and it's absolute zero temperature with as cold as it could be, and there's no atoms in there. It's completely empty. Well, still there's residual energy in that 1 cubic meter, enough to boil all the oceans of the earth. And that is what's within us. We just have to tap it. Okay. Where it comes from, who knows? Right. But it's very, very powerful. Right. So powerful that we've just measured a tiny bit of it, and we're completely amazed. NASA has been looking for ways to access this energy so they could use it for space travel because it's infinite. It just doesn't end. Then we have a field called the quantum field, which is just above the 0-point field. And it's like an ocean with waves. And the waves are particles and waves that move up and down. Okay. And then above that is one called the Higgs field. And it's by renowned Nobel Prize winning scientist who, when these little particles from the quantum field go up there, they slow down and they create matter. And so that matter becomes us later. So all this energy starts there in what we call the bliss body or cosmic consciousness in that area. And then it comes down into an area that we call the supramental, also known by theologians as the human soul. And there's where we contain the archetypes of love, caring, empathy, joy, appreciation. And also on one side of it also has a mystical aspect, which is karma, reincarnation. Morphic resonance is something that we learned from Rupert Sheldrake, who I studied under. He was a biologist from Cambridge, who said that that's the memory of our ancestors. And that spinning, those are just, and all this lives in what we call a plasma medium. So these spinning little vortexes of memories and information are coming down, pass through us, through our mind, to our auric field or the human biofield, through our epigenetics into us. And that's who makes us where we are. And that's where the energy comes from.
So you're saying we're carrying this and emitting it?
Yes.
We are it. We are energy. Energy. Am I saying this right? Dense enough to be physical.
Yes, absolutely. E equals MC squared. That's Einstein said that. And that means that the slower things go, the more dense they become.
Yeah.
And right now, our world, because of all these other things, electro fields, we are getting, for the lack of a better word, infected with things that don't quite keep us
balanced.
Yes.
That's right.
They mess with our normal, natural, healthy fields.
Yeah.
They put us out of balance, to put it simply, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that we have, actually there's two things. One of them is called the torus field. We call it the human biofield.
Right.
It's also called the aura.
Right.
And it's also where chi and prana live, or the two one's from the Ayurvedic medicine, the prana, and chi is from the traditional Chinese medicine. And it's called the energy field that we have all around us. Whenever we react to something or someone, that energy field decreases and it becomes less energy and more chemical. And that chemical is cortisol. And we live up here. So when I measure it in a lot of people, I said, your cortisol is probably high. And they say, well, I feel good. It's because they've adapted. We as a society throughout the world have adapted to all this information, all this coming at us. But there's another field that's absolutely amazing, and it's fantastic, and it's a torus field that comes out of the heart. And we measured it up to 3 meters out. And the reason that we know that it's there is because we have sensitive enough equipment. And so there's a laboratory out of San Francisco called HeartMath. And when I was doing research, they sent me all the equipment, so I started measuring people's heart-brain coherence. And what that means is that people actually have a connection between their heart and their brain that's very advanced, because our heart communicates more with our brain than our brain communicates with our heart. So we don't know that. So people who have this energy tend to expand it out further. And when they do that, we call that the universal law of attraction, where as people grow up to this, that people in that same wavelength resonate towards them. And so, that's what the attraction is. And when these two people meet, or these two energies meet, and they're the same frequency, they double in size. And that scientifically is called constructive interference. And so that is what makes people, you can just see brightness. You can see people in love, and they're just beaming this out. And that's the measurement, the electromagnetic measurement that we have. And that can clean up all the smog and all the things. That love can do that.
Yeah. I was just going to say, so love makes it all better.
Love is the highest and it's frequency, right? Love is a frequency.
That's the chemistry of love.
Okay. So that's why this all matters. If you're sitting here wondering, well, why does this matter to me? I barely make $300 a week. Why does this matter? Okay. So I'm trying to break it down to some of our listeners who are, why does this matter? And help them to understand that, we are connection and we are our energy. And if we're being bombarded with the smog,
electrosmog, you can call it everything,
then we're off. Things are genetics. You said earlier that our DNA is being affected by it. I mean, and this is actually becoming more and more scientific about this. So that's why it matters.
And then also to say, what can we do about it? Because we're not helpless.
No.
So we don't want the listeners to think, well, they're getting bombarded and there's nothing they can do about it. They can. For a start, be mindful about your use of electronics. Everybody's telling you that, so you need to hear it. It's really important, and I'm guilty too, and have to remind myself every day. Get rid of the phone. Have some time out where you are not on the phone or you're not around electronics. That's one thing. I think, just a general healthy lifestyle with like being out in the sunshine, grounding, when you walk, I don't know if you know grounding when you walk barefoot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that releases all the magnetic charge that's built up in your body from being around this energy. Take a walk every day without your shoes. On the ground, on the grass, on the beach. We've got the beach there. There's no excuse not to go. And that alone daily is a wonderful way of doing things. Gary, what else do you have in mind? There's lots of things.
I love heart-brain coherence. I think that you could be the richest person in the world and not feel the love or compassion than somebody who's truly living from the heart. They can make $300 a week and still be the happiest person on earth.
For true. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, it is. I mean, money doesn't fix everything, right?
No.
Yeah. So, but it does help. No. So this is grounding and, detachment a little bit from our electronics, or at least be mindful of when they're in our area or field. We can put down our cell phone and take it out of the room at night or whatever we need to do, turn off the TV, connect with each other.
Connection is huge, which is also lacking in our community. It's just plain connection. We connect over phones. We don't connect with one another. And then when you're taking time out, do nothing. Do nothing so the body can rest. Don't spend energy. Do absolutely nothing, which is very difficult for most people to do. But if you pray, if you meditate, that's a great thing. So get out of yourself, get out of your intelligence, out of the thought pattern, and just relax the brain. That's extremely beneficial. And that's why, as I said, most of my regular clients come in to do that, because they're not getting time to do it. And if they're at home or wherever, they're just not doing it. But you've got no excuse in the light room because you can't talk, you can't be on your phone, you just have to sit there.
That's true.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your research with the Lightroom.
I've done a couple of things now.
Right.
One of them was measuring the heart rate variability, and the other before I was doing research in Barcelona, Spain, with 100 practitioners in a room at the same time. And if you can imagine that the room was completely empty, and we measured it, what we call a baseline. So we measured the energy in there, and when they came back in the room, and they were on the fourth day, they were doing something called emotional release. where they were doing a special technique to release emotions that were trapped in people. So we were measuring the room, and there was a lot of emotions, some screams and cryings and some laughing. It was just very strange for me to see this. But we measured it, and so I didn't know what the data was because it was, I had days and days and days of data, 7 days of data. So I brought it all home. And the fourth day, I looked at it, and everything that during the emotional release, the energy in the room, not only did it drop below baseline, it almost disappeared. So we're saying, where did that energy go? And what did I do wrong? Because this can't be right. So I was talking to my dissertation professor, and he said, go someplace else and do this measurement again, something that you could use as a control. I said, well, I approached Avril, and I said, Avril, I've got a problem here. She goes, I got just the solution. Why don't you come on Sunday? We're having a worldwide meditation, all the scalar rooms or the light rooms throughout the world, and there was 150 of them. And there'll be anywhere from 10 people or more in each room. And so that's, about 1,500 people are going into a meditation altogether. So I measured the room the night before. My instrumentation was so sensitive that it was picking up lightning strikes 60 miles offshore. Mm-hmm. So when I came in and looked at it, I had to go to the NOAA site knowing what are these artifacts. And it would show right at the time when the lightning would go off. So that's very sensitive. So I knew my equipment was good. So we did the measurement again. And once again, the signal unified and went below an empty room. Mm-hmm. And so what we call that collective emotional coherence, meaning that everybody's mind got together and they created a sense of peace, so much so that together they went below baseline. That's when I went to read something by Lynn McTaggart, who also taught at my school. And she was talking about the power of 8, where people get in prayer groups of 8. And they were having effect on ill people in even another country. They would pray for them, and they were measuring it, and they were measuring the room, and they were saying these, they were having such an influence just by the power of the mind. And so that was what we were measuring. That's what I came up with at the end. And we call that morphic resonance. And morphic resonance it's best explained with the 100 monkey experiment. There was 100 monkeys on an island, and one of them started peeling the sweet potatoes instead of just eating it. And then the others started. And a month later, the scientists went to another island, and they saw that the monkeys had started peeling the sweet potatoes. And it's the way consciousness works, and it's the way that prayer works. So there's been a lot more studies on prayer. And so when we get together in large groups in churches, it's the same kind of experiment I did with the practitioners in Barcelona. And so that's amazing. This is really powerful stuff, and we're beginning to measure it. So I thought that was fascinating.
And with that emotional release, that meant that the people were actually healing?
Yes, ma'am. A lot of it, what we may have taken of that, morphic resonance is actually the memory of our ancestors. We know that in Barcelona, it was over the 100 years there was 2 world wars. 90 million people lost their lives. These were the direct descendants, the grandchildren and great-grandchildren of the people who were there. And so a lot of times those screams were like being in a war zone. I had been in Hawaii and done similar experimentation, nothing like this. It was very, very profound, and it affected me. And as we're walking around the room, the instructors would look at me with big eyes like, what's going on? This is crazy. But they would all come out, they felt reliefs, they felt, lighter. They felt that they had taken advantage of the therapy that was being given.
Wow. That's pretty powerful, because that means epigenetics is you're healing and going back and healing your ancestral pain. And can you imagine if that can be, if that's done here? Because I think for me, what I see in Cayman lately is an extreme high rise of anxiety and trauma. And it would be lovely if more people got access to that healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I give you a statistic about cell phones and screen time. If you were 19 years old today, or 18 years old, and your life expectancy would be 90 years old, you would live about 864 months. And a third of that would be spent sleeping. A third of that would be spent anything from washing dishes, driving, taking a bath, going to work, going to school, all that is something that we always do, and that's what we need. And a third of it is free time. And that's about almost 300 and something months, 370 months. And 312 months of those is spent looking at your phone.
Holy Toledo.
And every time we look at the phone, and we look at it anywhere from 100 to 300 times a day, and especially young people, that it's like a drop of cortisol, because they're looking at things that are going around the world. Somebody's talking about them. Somebody's bullying them. There's global warming. There's elections. There's this. There's that. There's car payments. There's insurance. And it's all right there in your hand. You can't set it away. And then, so when Arva was talking about just do nothing, is better than doing that.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And I'll let you explain it again about that flight or fight mode. Mm-hmm. This is what happens. I mean, just by looking at your phone, you are going into
fight or flight. That's right. You're raising your cortisol level, and you're not going into rest and digest. Mm-hmm. And so your heart rate variability you're not becoming younger, you're becoming older.
Yes. And then on top of this, I don't think people understand the chemical reaction of all of this and what happens. You put it very succinctly about you're getting older. We are accelerating our age. So the fix or the panacea to that, or whatever you want to say, is to go to the light room or get grounded, put down your phone. There's a couple of other things that you can do. But people don't understand our brain is still reacting like we are on the savannas and lions are chasing us. But nothing is chasing us. So all these chemicals, the cortisol, the adrenaline is all kicking off in oxycodone? That's all being activated for pain,
yes,
in the anticipation of pain. So this is why all of this is important.
Yes.
I'm
sorry. There's one more thing in that is about our thoughts. We have about 60,000 thoughts a day. 85% of them are negative.
Wow.
And 95% of them are the same thoughts we had the day before.
Yeah.
Okay. And of those 85% that are negative, only 7% are judgments on other people. The rest of them are judgments on ourselves.
Yeah.
And we beat ourselves up so hard. And it's just tough. And it's not necessary, because we're beautiful creatures. We need to recognize that and be the best that we can.
And again, that is a biological response, because that was done to keep us alive.
Absolutely.
This is all biological. It's not necessarily us disliking us.
No.
It's the discontent of survival. To survive, I should say.
That's right.
I'd like to add one thing when you were mentioning about fight and flight. We were designed that when, example, something was chasing you and you had to run away, right? You needed the adrenaline, you needed everything. So you would run.
Yes.
And the act of running, the act of movement would actually dissipate all those built up chemicals in your body. Yeah. But we're not running. We're just sitting on our phone watching fails and bad news and trauma and car accidents and things.
True thing.
And then we put out our phone and go to bed. And so we're not releasing all those chemicals. And we wonder why we wake up stressed and in a bad mood and not well.
So talk a little bit about the light room and the services you
Yes, sure. Well, the light room is open every day except Monday. There's huge benefits we see. Benefits with pain release, increased blood flow, increased oxygenation in the blood, mental clarity, faster injury recovery, actual regeneration on a cellular level. But from what I've seen, it all comes down to the body healing itself because you're giving it time to. Because the body is designed to heal itself. We created to heal itself. It's a natural occurrence. But we're not giving ourselves time to heal because of all the things we've been mentioning about. So coming into the light room gives you the ability to down your emotions, down your brain, to rest properly, and then your body naturally starts healing. And I think that's why we know so many diseases, their source is in stress.
Okay.
Because we're functioning, as we said, on high cortisol and all these levels that actually aren't beneficial for us. But we do lots of events, which is something that we weren't doing when I last spoke to you, I think. We do monthly breathwork class, we do sound bowls, we do movement meditation. So if you check us out on the lightroom.ky, you'll see all the benefits are there, and you'll see all the various events we have.
Dr. Montemayor, anything to add about how this all helps us again?
Oh, yeah. I think that anything we can do to balance our energy system is going to make us feel better. And this is a real unique opportunity, the Light Room, because there's not many, and to have it here on our island is a real gift.
Real quick, say how they get onto the Lightroom.
Okay, it's www.thelightroom.ky, or otherwise you can call on 938-HEAL, HEAL, or email info@thelightroom.ky.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You've been listening to me interview Avra Ward from the Lightroom and Dr. Gary Montemayor. And we've been talking about energy. We are moving you to the life you want.
There's nothing more important than your health, and seeking expert healthcare with physicians you can trust is what you deserve. UHealth, the University of Miami Health System, offers peace of mind to you and your family with a first-class experience. Our patient coordinators assist with everything you need before, during, and after your stay with us. As South Florida's only academic-based health system, UHealth offers cutting-edge treatment, compassionate care, and life-changing results just a flight away. Learn more at umiamihealth.org/international.
When I first started going to Healthcare Pharmacy, it was because it was convenient. But over the years, I continued to shop there because I trusted them. One day I was picking up my prescription, and the pharmacist noticed an over-the-counter medication in my basket. She said, "I hope that's not yours. It will interact with your prescription." And I thought, wow, thank you. Trust is so important when it comes to your health. Healthcare Pharmacy, with 2 locations, Grand Harbor and Governor Square, where they care about my health.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush. Brought to you by the Health Services Authority. Caring people, quality service. Visit hsa.ky.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health. 2 locations, Governor Square and Grand Harbor. Refill and transfer prescriptions online. Call 947-8900 or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky.
Also brought to you by Cayman Medical Center, Cayman's most awarded private medical clinic.
And UHealth, International University of Miami.
World-class healthcare in the heart of Miami.
The Lightroom, your holistic sanctuary for physical and mental restoration, repair, and rejuvenation. The power that made the body heals the body. 38 Pasadora Place, Georgetown. Find us online at www.thelightroom.ky or call 938-HEAL.
We are Radio Cayman, covering Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and Grand Cayman.